Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's a wonderful day, and I hope that it's all going well for you wherever you are. Always good to be with you. Mohamed Shukri, good morning. I know it's morning where you are. Good morning.
Good afternoon from Bahrain.
Okay. I got it wrong. Afternoon, and a little bit later afternoon in Dubai with Fiby. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon and greetings to all.
So here we are again. We keep coming back to do something. And I think that one of the reasons we keep coming back to do, there's a number of reasons why we keep coming back, is we are doing something overall, which is, I'm going to use what's now a buzzword, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. But we use a term that it covers a range of definitions or in the world today, and the word is sustainability. Now, we talk about sustainability of the ecosystem, sustainability of the planet, and the things that we are doing to sustain overall life on this planet, right? So that's one of the bigger definitions of sustainability. Sustainability really, though, means keeping on doing the things that we have set in practice to do. Would you agree with that as a broad non-dictionary definition? That we can keep doing something because we want to, because it's good to be done and delivers good results. So is that definition going to be acceptable?
Yeah,
Looks great.
yeah. I mean, just to also supplement and top up what Graham mentioned, there is a definition by United Nations which also highlight, it is the development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs.
Oh gosh, the United Nations trumps me again. I don't know. They're much better, clearer definition of the bigger thing. But it is also about being able to continue to do things, that we sustain doing things and doing certain behaviors, right?
Yeah.
So I know that there was one of us who talked about sustaining in the leadership area. And that gentleman is sitting to my right as we look at the screen at the moment. Phoebe wanted us to talk about leadership sustainability. Is that right, Phoebe?
Yes, Graham. We are passionate and we come every week to share how leadership affects everything. And we know in organizations, whether it is at home or whether it is at a workplace, the sustainability of organization will be better as we have seen the definitional aspect which you just now discussed, that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generation. And that is where leadership as a behavior is critical. And
overall, let me just make a comment about, and I know you're on a thought, so just keep that thought there. Overall, as three of us are involved in the training and development area, we have had experience, I'm sure, where an organization says, we want you to do a particular training. And so the training is conducted, not by us, but this is training by other trainers who aren't as good as us. They do the training and everybody's excited. They have an enjoyable time in the training room. They have a really nice lunch and they are pleased to be interacting with everybody who is there. And then they go back to the workplace with hopefully these new skills that they've learned, and the new information that they have is lost in 2 days, maybe 2.5 days. And then you ask them, what about the training program you went on? Oh, that one. Oh, the food was really good. We had a good lunch. Okay, good. But the learning has not been sustained, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to put up my hand, and I rarely do this, and say that I was honoured some years ago to be not accredited, but measured in the way that I was delivering learning, and that I was in the top, something like the top 1% globally for delivering what's called learning sustainability. That is, that people remembered what they'd had for quite some time after the program. This, to me, is the critical element of any training program, isn't it? Why should organizations spend money on training when, if the only good outcome is a good lunch, then just take everybody to lunch, give them a really good lunch, and then send them back to work. What we want in the work that we do is for people to be engaged in what we're talking about and for the learning to be sustained. That is, that they keep doing it, they keep doing it. And we're focusing on that specifically about leadership. I'm sorry I cut you off on your point. Please continue, Fiby.
Yeah, you actually arrived at that important point, which we were discussing. You know, like how can we create a leadership which is contagious, which can spread across the organization. And we have seen those organizations, and we can see how it impacts the culture. And that is where, you know, the culture of sustainability from a leadership angle plays a crucial role. And we can see what happens if there is no contagious leadership in place, what way it is going to impact the organization too. And in our surroundings, we have seen organizations which have failed in, and some names are even out of the market over a period of time.
They failed. They failed. So, Mohamed, why is Mohamed sustainable?
It looks to me very straightforward why, by combining the definition of sustainability is to keep doing. Well, the leadership challenge directly says that it is the 5 practices. We are talking about what is seen as behaviors, and practices must be seen continuously. That's why we are directly under the radar of sustainability when it comes to the leadership challenge. So people need to see what we say we would do, and vice versa. And for example, if we take each of the practices, they are measurable immediately, like they were able to measure even the sustainability of trainees retaining the training you delivered, Graham. So I wouldn't go far beyond this point that we have the 5 practices. Practices are sustainable, and they are the best way. Otherwise, we are not talking about concepts, principles. They will become cliches and only slogans on, billboards.
2 points. One is, particularly in the area that I know you are passionate about. Well, you're passionate about a few things, I know that. We talked last week about safety. And surely that is one area. There are many, leadership is another, but surely sustainability of the learning in the safety area is critical. Correct?
It is.
Must be embedded in their psyche almost to do certain things. So that's got to be sustainable. So we might be able to help organizations, you particularly, help the learning in safety become embedded by following the leadership challenge and what we're talking about. Now, I'm really pleased that you highlighted the leadership, the 5 practices of exemplary leadership. In the English language, which some of us find a little bit hard to deal with, and even I do at times, it has some amazing words that seem simple in one way and so complex in another. The very choice of the word practices, as you mentioned, it's not the 5 factors, not the 5 principles, it's not the 5 choice. No, it is the 5 practices. And the word practice has 2 meanings, particularly that apply here. One is it is a practice. It is a practice that is something that we do. We talk about a doctor having a medical practice. So that's where the term of where he does what he does. So that's a practice, is what someone does. But the other really important element of the word practice is you practice means you keep doing it. You're never going to get perfect. You keep doing it. I've got to practice this until I get better, right? So the 5 practices are something that you should be doing all day, every day, all the time, so that you know that they become sustainable and sustained overall. The practice, it's like learning golf, and you practice and practice. Whatever the skill, you practice to become good at it. Leadership is like that. And when you practice it, that's one of the ways that it becomes sustained. Gentlemen.
Yeah, Graham, you actually highlighted one aspect which I just want to reiterate. You know, one aspect is within that 5 practices which James Kuzuz and Barry Posner through their research. Now, it is a 40 years of research which has explored leadership, and it highlights that leadership is everyone's responsibility. But, you know, we have to bring that awareness into the system. Now, that we have to champion this cause of having better leadership practices. And that is why we are always highlighting the 5 practices of exemplary leadership provide us with a framework to drive sustainable change. Let us see how. Let me take the first one. We must model sustainable practices in our own lives and organization. How can we do that? Modeling the way. Now, I just want to bring a situation which we faced during the COVID pandemic. One was the challenge which the healthcare professionals had because they are in the front line. And in many places, they were given prioritized to be vaccinated initially. So, you know, modeling the way is applied and how healthcare workers are protected through that process. So, you know, what can we do as leaders? And because that is prioritizing a specific segment in that instance. And another aspect, so for example, from a workspace is, you know, am I doing what I say? The do what you say you will do. And whether it is only saying or whether it is doing. And that also gets linked to the sustainability practices. So remember, modeling the way creates change for better, and linking it with the UN definition. Challenge us to meet our present needs without compromising the ability of future generations. So am I modeling in my work, in my organization, things which helps the future generation? That is a question which I am throwing out.
Yeah, it's a question which we explored. Mohamed.
Yeah, it reminds me of some of the leaders that are really good in practicing leadership and building relationship and rapport and encouraging the heart only when they get in touch with the team in meetings or in general assemblies, things like that. And you know that they are actually doing it wholeheartedly, but only for a period of time. You want to sense their leadership elsewhere. So sustainability to me is not only a time bounded concept, it's also geographically important. It's not within the meeting room or within the PR halls or within contact in the front desk, and vice versa. You need to practice. You need your leadership to be sustainable all over. All right, it's 24/7, but it's also full scale in terms of geographical. So all employees sense, all levels sense your leadership. All aspects of the operation and production maintenance equally deserve and get your attention. So this is to me sustainable, and just bringing parts of it here and there, practicing only now and not later, that's not sustainable.
Let me just drill this down into specifically in regard to the 5 practices. Fiby has touched on model the way. There are 3 that I want to focus on in specifically related to sustainability. And the first of these, which is one of Fiby's favourites, I think it's one of Fiby's 5 favourites, and that is challenge the process. So let's look at this from the point of view of a leader who is demonstrating or living these behaviours, as opposed to a factor of leadership or a secret of leadership or a principle of leadership, right? Sometimes we define it that way. And it's the behaviours that are kind of expected and kind of good. But let's look at the practicalities in relation to the 3 practices that I'm going to mention now. So let's just say, as I so often do, if a leader says, okay, is there a better way of doing what we've done? And team members come up with a better way of doing something. If he says, is there another way we can do this? Who can improve what we're doing? And when they do, what is likely to happen internally for that leader when he's asked that question and he gets a response, maybe not immediately, but as a result of him asking this question, he sees the team coming up with better ideas. What is the response internally for that person? What is he going to be thinking, or she? Wow, look at what has happened because of what I asked, because of what I challenged. We change behaviours when we know that there is a good feeling or a benefit for us in changing the behaviour. So specifically, if it moves his behaviour to be saying, is there a better way of doing this? Who can come up with a different way that's going to be better for all of us? Or what mistakes, or what did we learn from these mistakes? And people qualify that and say, we learned this and this. Okay, we won't do it again. So when the outcome of this is delivered by the new ideas that come up or by people's responses, internally, the leader, when he or she hears or sees that, feels inside, wow, I got this happening because I said, is there a better way of doing it? And they've come up with a better way. And it's going to save the company $1 billion. Well, not $1 billion, but you know what I mean? It's going to lead to a good result because I asked a simple question and got them to come up with this. Wow, how good is this? So I'm going to suggest that that particular response mechanism is going to feed the sustainability for his behavior as a leader. So let me quickly move to the next one, which when I enable someone, empower them. When I say, Mohamed, I know that you're going to get a really good result when you do this. And then Mohamed does it and gets a great result. And Mohamed comes back and says, boy, I didn't know I could climb that mountain. I thought that was going to be really tough. And you say, I knew you could do it. What is that leader likely to be feeling? He's likely to be feeling internally, woohoo, wow, because I challenged him. He got a great result. And it was me who challenged him to do better, who challenged him to go beyond what he thought he was capable of. And we know that 96% of people say they perform at their best when they're challenged. So this is feeding the mechanism internally for the leader to make this sustainable. That is to keep doing it. And the last one, it's not the last for the night, for today, but the last one is encourage the heart. You know, and I know that when we encourage the heart genuinely, when we say to someone, and I could think of a range of responses that I have seen or heard when I have told someone what I thought they were doing a great job. I've seen that happen. I've seen their reaction, somewhat of surprise. Wow, thank you. Wow, thank you so much. I'm in a situation at the moment where my sister is in a hospital and the staff, the nurses and all other levels are doing a fantastic job. I'm already planning what I'm going to leave for them when my sister leaves hospital. And what I leave for them will be for me from the heart, telling them what a wonderful job I believe they did in looking after my dear sister. Now, some of these people will say, well, that's our job. But even though they say that, they likely will be having their heart touched because someone has recognized and valued the work that they do to help another human being when they're not well. When we do this to people, we see their response. And even if we just don't say much about it, internally, the person who's giving this to that other person will feel, wow, look at the difference I just made to that person by encouraging their heart. Now, this is where the leader is going to help, that's going to help the leader make that a sustainable behavior, because he or she is being kind of rewarded when they do that, and the other person gets a great result, and the leader sees what's happened because of what he or she did in encouraging them. Fiby.
Yeah, I was just remembering, some of the examples which we discussed in the past episodes, where, like something which I remember is about the way in which, Muhammad got inspiration to write the book, The One and the Only, how his teachers' words, and that is what the power of encouraging the heart, and when that encouraging the heart happens, it is also enabling others to act. And that is where the sustainability comes in, continuation. And I just want to throw this question to Mohammed. Mohammed, how that words is giving you motivation and to sustain and do more in your practice?
People underestimate the power of words, but when they come at the right time and they acknowledge something. See, my teacher, when he saw in me the writing, he saw something and he did not leave it go unnoticed. He actually did not pump into me a fake motivation out of nowhere just to feel good and fluffy pep talk. No, actually he looked at my article at that time and he gave me highest mark, and also he decided to write something encouraging to me, not only the score. So leaders, when they see good behavior, we have a rule. What makes behaviors continue is acknowledging them. You acknowledge behaviors, whether good or bad, they will continue. So if you want the behavior to continue, then acknowledge it and encourage the heart to continue the good behavior. And the bad behavior, of course, we don't want it to be sustainable. We want it to perish. And that's why we also should intervene and not turn our face to it. Because the other rule also says, what you allow, you encourage. Okay? So encouraging the heart can work both ways. I don't know if that was the right answer, but this is what I believe.
Yeah, no, it is fantastically explained, Mohammed. Graham.
Yeah, no, in terms of the wrong behavior coming out of this is where, when the leader has developed the culture in the team and in the organization, that he can have what I call comfortable conversations, not difficult conversations, but comfortable conversations. These are not hard to have when the leader, because of the relationship that he's developed, can say to the team member when there is what I call the need for a course correction. That is, like the ship's captain knows that we're getting a little bit off course, so he needs to do a little course correction. That he's able to have a conversation with this person to say, hey, I just saw that happen. Do you think that's the best way to do it? So the person might say, no, I don't think it is. Okay, what do you think you should be doing? In simple terms, this is a coaching conversation, right? But it's reminding this person about what we believe in regard to leadership, and well, I'm going to help you and I'm going to support you, and I want you to be able to deliver the best result that you can deliver. I want to help you do that. Oh, yeah. And when that happens, the leader internally goes, woohoo, perhaps, or he has a feeling of yes, that worked. And coming back to the sustainability, yes, I want that to continue. And I want to leave a legacy. I want the people who work with me to have what I talk about as the leadership behavior, or what I do as the leadership behavior in terms of modeling the way, thank you, Fiby, in terms of doing what you say you will do, that others do this as well. And it is, to use Mohammed's word, contagious. This leadership behavior is modeled and it becomes contagious. I want what she's got. Yes. Or I want what he's got. Yes. This is where we have, I believe, sustainability in regard to leadership. I believe and I know that micromanaging and poor leadership is hard work. It is not effectively sustained. When we build an engaged culture of engagement, we can sustain that because everyone wants that to continue. They love working there.
Yes, yes.
They love that and they want it to continue. So they're going to do the things that will make it continue and make it sustainable, just like the world, just like the United Nations statement, for generations.
Yeah, when someone is coming to the workplace and they observe the surroundings, is my leader modeling the way?
Oh.
Is my leader inspiring the shared vision? Is my leader challenging the process? Especially if we have unsustainable practices, challenge it more. How can we do differently? And is my leader enabling others to act, whether it is micromanaging or enabling others to do on their own? It also brings the culture. What culture am I shaping? And finally, is my culture and my leaders in my surroundings encouraging the heart? And that is where, the leadership behaviors are critical. And that is why, in order to have a sustainable organization which is thriving, following the 5 practices are critical.
Mohammed?
Perhaps my last words will be, make it lasting. Like you also want your leadership to be sustainable in terms that it lasts even when you are not there. Now, when you're not there means probably you are not at work, but also when you leave and they will have another leader. So don't be the one that when you are retiring or leave to another position, people say, oh my God, this good leader will go and all the good things will go with him. We've been there, right? But you can create a sustainable environment and culture and workplace that people are actually able to mimic what they have been doing with you, mimic you, continue doing what they were doing, all right, and continue thriving and growing even when you're not there. So that's also sustainable. And how to do that? We already said that. You have the 5 practices. This is your roadmap.
And make your leadership a leadership legacy, as Mohammed has just said, not just because you're going on holidays, not just because you're not well and you're taking time off, but when you leave to go to either a higher position or a higher place, but that you leave a legacy with it. Others say, wow, he or she created this and we want to sustain that environment because of what he or she has done. Fiby, one last word from you.
Yeah, I think, as all of you highlighted, if I have that leadership practices based on the leadership challenge in my workplace, you are not only creating a sustainable organization where people feel valued, you are also contributing, as the United Nations mentioned, development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. So that means you have developed a sustainable leadership practice in your organization.
I'm gonna make one last comment, and it's brazenly talking about the book and the value of the book. The book is in its 7th edition. 7th edition. The research began 40 years ago. It is absolutely, totally, completely still relevant today. So where's that for sustainability? Absolutely spot on, right? The leadership has survived various other iterations, various other models of leadership, and is still the #1 leadership model globally. It's sustained all these years and will continue beyond. Gentlemen, I thank you for your time, and as always, I thank you for your wisdom and for suggesting that we talk about sustainability. And I hope that everybody who's listening and or watching this or reading this, or however you're receiving this, really gets a sense of the value and the importance of leadership sustainability. It's not hard. Gentlemen, I wish you well for the week, and we'll see you again next week.
See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.